Okay, camera's rolling and...
Stand by, here we come. All relaxed.
You know what pop culture's like to the English. It comes off the street. A gang of kids, totally relevant to their time, form a band and step onto a stage and are utterly in the moment.
Action.
This is Tony.
Hi, I'm John.
I'm Steve.
I'm Martin.
I'm Gary, and we're Spandau Ballet.
Everyone intellectualises about bloody music and stuff. It's just a laugh. It's just a giggle.
Rock and roll is a team game, a bit like being in a football team.
I didn't want to be a cult hero. I wanted to be a pop star.
I always thought success would be the thing that would make me happy.
July 23rd, 1979, bought a pair of trousers in Pintos, a Dusseldorf album, and 40 pints of beer for when Mum and Dad are away.
Half a pound of tuppenny rice, half a pound of treacle. That's the way the money goes. Pop goes the weasel. Yeah. Half a pound of tuppenny rice, half a pound of treacle.
London, back in the 60s, only 15 years after the Second World War. In those days, people lived in areas for many, many years. So it was a very, very close-knit community.
Knock it off, pop goes the weasel. Up and down the city road, in and out of the Eagle. That's the way the money goes, pop goes the weasel.
If you were a kid and you got up to mischief, you can guarantee that you come home and your mum would say, "Diggy Bird just knocked on my window." And you think, oh no, I've just been grassed up.
Now if you've got a weasel and you don't want him to pop.
Post-war, people had great aspirations for their children.
Him in the shop, 2, 3, 4, half a pound.
And I think we were the generation that our parents thought could go and do great things.
Now that is the way that the money goes.
So, and you've never had it so good either.
Would you excuse me a moment? I'm just going to pop my weasel.
I was very much into soul music as a kid. Whenever I used to go to my granddad's, the first record I would get out was Signed, Sealed, Delivered. Still one of my favourite tunes to this day.
Like a fool, I went and stayed too long. I'm wondering if your love's still strong. Ooh, baby, here I am, signed, sealed, delivered, I'm yours.
My dad had a very eclectic taste musically. He liked the Peddlers, George Shearing, but he also liked the Beach Boys.
It was my dad's side of the family that turned me on to music, but it was from my mum's side that I got the performing bug. My nan was a dancer and an acrobat in a circus. My nan's pictures were a window to a bigger world for me. She toured America. I guess it is in my blood.
I was brought up in Kentish Town, North London.
My dad was a terrazzo polisher. After that, a lorry driver. I don't think he ever really got up one day in his life and looked forward to work.
So that was simple for me. It was, you got to do something you enjoy. Narrowed it down to 3 options. Keep wicket for England, play for the Arsenal, or play drums in a rock band. My parents never owned a house, they never owned a car, but we did have a Grundig flamed maple radiogram, which was paid on the drip. It was easily the most expensive thing my parents had ever bought.
My dad loved to host a party. Stereogram would be turned up, cocktail cabinet opened, and we'd dance the night away.
I had a really good, solid, working-class upbringing. And loads of my family were all in the print.
Let there be you.
My dad was an electrical engineer for the Daily Mail. So I remember going to visit him down Fleet Street. You know, Fleet Street was an amazing place then, and I remember my dad works down Fleet Street.
Let there be Frank.
My mum and dad were really into Frank Sinatra, Tony Bennett, Ella Fitz.
Thank you. There be great songs for singers to sing.
When I decided that I wanted to be a singer, my mum and dad said to me, check out all the old stylists. And I used to record myself singing along to the records. And I used to play it back thinking, hey, mate, you're not bad, you.
The first music I really got into would have been glam rock, David Bowie, Roxy Music, T-Rex.
There's a starman waiting in the sky. He'd like to come and meet us, but he thinks he'd blow our minds. There's a starman waiting in the
Seeing David Bowie doing Starman on Top of the Pops was such a seminal moment for my generation.
All engine running.
For the Apollo kids like I was, it was rock music that was from another planet, and I wanted to go to that planet.
Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
My parents bought me a guitar for Christmas, which was a real surprise. There was nothing musical about our family. I had a Burt Whedon play in a daybook, and I remember learning If I Had a Hammer, and I thought, you know, I really like those chords, but I don't really like the tune. I'd started writing my own music. Precociously, I played 2 of my songs at the school prize giving. I still got the recording that my dad made of that performance. The Bishop of Stepney was there to give away the prizes. And about a week later, he turned up out of the blue at our house, which terrified my mum. This giant of a man draped in purple. It was like having Batman sitting in the corner of our front room.
Yes, that's absolutely true. I did. I found it enormously exhilarating, and of course it was so.
He gave me a cassette recorder, the most up-to-date bit of technology in our house. He asked me to record every song I wrote and send them to him. It was a Thursday. I remember that because Top of the Pops was on.
Hello, how are you? Welcome to Top of the Pops.
Rod Stewart was playing Maggie May, and it was the first time I thought, that's what I do. Maybe I could be them one day.
Wake up, Maggie, I think I got something to say to you. It's late September and I really should be back at school.
Gary and I shared this bedroom till I was 11. His side of the room was filled with posters of bands like Yes and David Bowie. Mine was Bruce Lee and a little bit of football here and there. When we were kids, Gary and I went to this drama club, Anna Scher's Children's Theatre.
The first thing we always do is to start with a warm-up.
I think my mum put me in there not to be an actor, but just to get rid of my shyness. I kind of fell in love with acting at a really early age.
And a fantastic save from Bob Wilson, it really was. So what'd you have the match? No, I lost my ticket, didn't I? Lost a ticket.
Well, now, we've seen the Anna Scher group now. They're perhaps the first TV generation. You're probably the first people who have sort of grown up with television as a memory from, you know, your earliest days.
Gary and I were both doing quite a bit of acting, but Gary was getting more and more into his music. I was 2 years younger than Gary, well, I still am. 2 years at that age is a really big difference. He was in a band with Phil Daniels. I was just really proud of him. being up there.
With the exception of Martin, we all went to Dame Alice Owen's grammar school. It was the best school around. The beauty of it was people were there by ability. Don't know how Tone got in.
Steve Norman was in my year at school, and I realised we had a lot in common musically.
Gary and I met someone else who was into the soul scene, Steve Dagger.
Steve Dagger was a few years above me at school. He was fascinated by 60s music, especially the iconic managers like Andrew Loog Oldham, Peter Meaden. He was brought up in the West End during the swinging 60s, and I remember him saying that he couldn't wait to be old enough to join in, and how when he was, it was all gone. He was looking for all these exciting people, but there was no one there. Punk changed everything. And it was Steve Dagger who took me and Steve Norman to the screen on the Green in August 1976 to see the Sex Pistols.
Now fun, my babe, now fun.
When Steve Norman and I went back to school in September, we decided we really wanted to put a band together.
Trouble is, we didn't have a bass player, a singer, or a drummer.
Steve Norman and I started playing in the music room.
And John Keeble used to go down there.
The first time I saw Steve Norman play guitar was in the sixth form common room. He was playing Clap by Steve Howe from Yes, which is an incredibly complex prog rock guitar piece. I was quite impressed, yeah.
From there, we drafted in Richard Miller, who again was from our school. The final piece in the jigsaw was Tony Hadley, who was put forward as the singer. I was aware of Tony. Tony was always getting scrapes because he was a big sort of numpty.
He came up to me in the sixth form common room and he said, "Here, are you looking for a singer for your band? I'll sing for you." And he blew us away.
I wasn't too pleased, but the boy can sing.
Tell the truth. Tell the truth. Tell the truth.
Dagger suggested that he could get us gigs. His obsessive knowledge of rock and roll made him perfect for the job as manager. We said yes.
And we'd jump at the chance to play any gig anyway. If we were a young band, we just wanted to play. 1977, the Queen's Jubilee, and we played 2 Jubilee gigs, one in Inglebert Street, and then we played one in Bevin Court, which was the flats opposite where Mum and Dad lived. And we played for hours.
You bought a ticket and you gotta see him tonight. You paid your money and he don't even know what your name is.
In my salad days, I pledged my life for the service of our people. I do not regret nor retract one word of it.
We became the Roots, we became the Cut. We became the Makers. When we were the Makers, I thought we were going to make it. Sorry, excuse the pun.
Gary and Steve were both writing.
It was exciting. One minute we were playing to a load of punks, next minute we were playing to traditional pub rock crowd.
Something magical happened when Gary and his mates strapped on their guitars. This bunch of ordinary kids was suddenly glittering with charisma. The music was loud, they were loud, and I was jealous.
My brother was the street superstar. Dagger said, "We've got to get him in the band. He's easily the best-looking bloke we know." It was Richard Miller, our bass player, that got the push, and we left it up to Dagger to do the firing.
We arranged to meet in New York. The only 2 people who actually met there was Steve Dagger and Richard Miller. We all met in another pub, looking at our pints, feeling a bit sad about it.
Although I didn't like the idea to begin with, Martin was an instinctive pop star. Punk had a built-in obsolescence. It was not meant to go anywhere. You're not meant to see the Sex Pistols at Wembley. They're not meant to get better. They're meant to break up.
While we were looking around for our thing, we went back to our soul roots. Wedge haircuts, peg trousers. We even started going to discotheques again, just to dance.
The music I bought and went to see was mostly rock music, but I danced a lot to soul. I love dancing.
Then we changed direction again and we became Gentry.
The problem with Gentry is that we were neither here nor there. We were a band in search of an audience.
This was the first time in a good few years where we had no gigs in the book.
I was gutted. I finally got into the band, and now it looked like it might be over before it begun.
Do you think you can win this strike?
Yes, I do.
How long will you prepare to stay out?
Indefinitely.
The winter of discontent just passed me by. I had my head in the clouds. I wanted to live at Graceland. I wanted to be Elvis, not worry about the unions and Margaret Thatcher.
What sort of government is it which sees its authority passed to strike committees?
Negotiations going on.
Stop the negotiations, answer the question. Don't be a politician.
You want to go back to school? Yes, when the caretakers are paid. When the caretakers are paid, not before.
You know, you've got your rent going up. You're putting the milk up for me kids. You just can't carry on.
I think it stinks like all the other damn strikes in this country run by the filthy socialist communist unions.
I presume this is to enable us to sweep Britain clean of socialism.
I always look forward to a good fight. Not physically, of course.
Soho was very different in 1978. The streets were much darker and gloomier and dank and scary.
I love you.
Soho was a seedy place where you had to watch yourself. Exciting and dirty.
London was a very tribal place. There were rockabillys and punks and soul boys and Teds, and everyone was looking for the next big thing. Dagger told me he'd been to a club in Soho called Billy's, where this boy called Steve Strange was running on a Tuesday night.
That was a club that we opened, which was like an alternative venue to disco music.
He showed me the flyer. It said, "Fame, fame, fame. Jump aboard the night train." How could I resist? I was propping up the bar with Dagger, and he said, "This is it. This is exactly what we've been waiting for. We can be the band for this scene." Rusty Egan, the DJ, was combining Bowie and Ferry tracks with disco and avant-garde European sounds to create something that sounded like the future. It blew me away. And then the 80s began.
Discord, error, doubt, despair.
Do you want to revolutionise the club circuit?
I'd like to feel that we're doing something new all the time.
Within a matter of weeks, Steve and Rusty had outgrown Billy's, and they moved it to a club in Covent Garden called Blitz. It soon became the hippest place in London.
Are you ready yet?
Not yet, I'm taking my time.
Tuesday night was the best night of the week, without doubt. Everything revolved around going to the Blitz.
The whole week would be taken up finding something new to wear for the next Tuesday night.
If a person's got enough style, they can get away with anything. Absolutely anything.
The Blitz, there were a lot of fabulous nobodies. Kids who thought they were famous already. They were lovely little things.
Blitz was an amazing place. It was like walking onto a film set.
We were really too young to be part of the punk scene, but the Blitz was full of people the same age as us.
This could be ours.
The Blitz was small and dark, intense, subversive. A big part of my personality was formed at that club. Among this strange mix of ex-punks, art school students, soul boys and soul girls, there was us, working class kids from North London.
Steve Dagger, myself, Gary, Tony and Steve were all regulars at the Blitz in 1979. Every Tuesday night, 10 till 3, we would hang out, chewing away at the sides of our gums on speed and drinking bottles of beer.
There's a brashness that you have by hanging out with a bunch of kids all dressed the same. You're either convinced you're going to lay everyone or you're going to have a huge hit record, or both.
Everyone at the Blitz was a designer or a writer or a filmmaker. We all had a million ideas and we talked about them all night long. We felt we were establishing a creative manifesto for the 80s.
There was one day when Steve Dagger said to me, I'm managing a band. I said, what? He said, oh, yeah, you know, I've got a band. You come up with a name, you write the first review, we'll be a famous pop group, you'll be a writer. It worked.
We'll have to get a move on, all right?
I wanted to get rid of all the songs we'd done before, start again.
We needed to go 4 on the floor. Choppy guitars and soaring synth lines. Problem is, we didn't have a synth, so we had to buy one. Gary, being the smart one, got a song out of it.
There came a point when we were ready to introduce ourselves to our unsuspecting audience.
We decided to do a showcase gig somewhere where we felt safe, which was Halligan's rehearsal studio.
Okay, do you want to start sound checking the drums?
People who come to see us don't normally go and see groups, so they were like hypercritical. Just because they were our friends didn't mean to say they were going to like it.
Surprisingly, all the faces turned up. Bob Elms, Christos, Sullivan, Steve Strange.
We'd assembled what we thought were the condescension of London's great thinkers and doers and dancers and drinkers, so if they liked it, hopefully everyone else would.
I was so nervous. If they didn't like it, we really didn't have a plan B.
From half-spoken shadows emerges a canvas. A kiss of light breaks to reveal a moment when all mirrors are redundant.
That rehearsal room that day was probably the most important gig we've ever played.
It was such a relief to see the excitement on their faces. And I realised that morning we'd become their band. But we had a terrible name, the Gentry.
Bob Elms had just returned from Berlin. He'd seen Spandau Ballet written on a toilet wall and thought it sounded exotic.
It was perfect, classy, a touch of Liza Minnelli's Cabaret, and everyone loved it. We were on our way.
Straight after the Halligan's gig, Steve Strange offered us a gig at the Blitz itself. And that was exactly where we wanted to be.
There's the kind of kids who go to see a band, and all they do then is they just purely consume. And there's the kind of kids who go to a club where they are the visuals, and they are the most important people in that club.
So you're saying that the kids in the clubs are more important than you, the band?
Well, no, we are those people, you know, it's no different.
Janet Street Porter produced this youth programme called 20th Century Box. They'd done a documentary on the Sex Pistols years before, and now they were phoning us saying, we hear you're going to be the next big thing. We want to film it.
Not since the distant days of punk has a new youth movement emerged in London. But now there's a band who, as far as they're concerned, could be ushering in a whole new era.
Yeah, it was a fantastic break for us. I mean, an amazing break for an unsigned band to get on television on a Sunday morning. Amazing.
For years now, the music business is dirty, really. Spandau Ballet as a whole have always been fashion conscious. Everyone has got their individual sort of taste, although they follow the same line, and that line is a question of elegance and romance.
Meanwhile, the band have selected a suitably elegant wine bar for lunch and a chat about their musical influences.
We want the band to be, at all times, the most contemporary statement that we can possibly make of modern London. I mean, we consider ourselves as being the most modern dressers and thinkers in London at any given time. I know it's very conceited, but it's just the way we feel.
Then we got an invitation to do a residency at Le Papagayo Club in Saint-Tropez.
Saint-Tropez? We couldn't believe it when Dagger told us. It was extraordinary. No one went to Saint-Tropez.
My goodness. The furthest gig we'd done was Basildon.
Qui depuis s'en est allé. On a rangé les
Brian Ferry would go there on a jet for the day.
dans des valises en carton.
We went in a van.
Et c'est triste quand on pense.
Working class boys in Saint-Tropez, what's that all about? And people were obviously looking at us, perhaps for all the wrong reasons, because we were wearing jackboots and jobbers.
We played 2 sets a night, every night.
There's nothing like that to tighten up a band.
This was full of all the glamour and the glitz and the old-school style that we aspired to. Middle-class people read books under big hats, visited churches. We sunbathed.
4, take 1.
We got back to England and, of course, you know, we've been on television, we've been on 20th Century Box. We're kind of famous.
I don't like what's on your clapperboard. It's terrible. Futurist rock. Oh, it's not us, mate.
Dagger said every record company in London wanted to sign us, but he wanted us to do one more show. A real London event at a spectacular venue, but we couldn't think where. And then his dad suggested the HMS Belfast on the Thames.
It was a packed room full of pirates, Robin Hoods, 1940s gangsters. Dagger had created a night that nobody would ever forget. This was the place to be. Spandau had become the hottest unsigned band in the country.
We had all the majors chasing after us. We were incredibly confident that we were going to sign a record deal.
It was Chrysalis Records that finally won the race.
They gave us our own label, which meant complete creative control and a huge sackful of money.
There is no time to sit back and go, wow, ain't we great? The momentum just increases. Now it was, right, game on.
There are 5 young guys from Islington who are causing a real buzz in the music industry, and we've got them on Top of the Pops tonight. Have a listen to this.
What an 18th birthday present. Signing a record deal and then an appearance on Top of the Pops.
Telling our family and friends we were going to be on Top of the Pops was massive. 16 million people watched that show every single week. Even your nan watched it. This was the dream.
We sold 500,000 copies of that first single.
To go from this bunch of ordinary kids to being on television. Said we were going to do it, and we did it.
Over the past few weeks, the pop music scene and the fashion scene have been influenced by a new youth cult, the New Romantics or the Blitz Kids.
New romantics, blitz kids, creatives, optimists, escapists, narcissists, style makers, primal 80s bands. I mean, what do you call yourselves?
Our performance on Top of the Pops was like kicking the door of the Blitz open, and the world was going to rush in. Suddenly, the high street was full of the new romantic look. Even Topshop was selling ruffles, pie-crust collars, and knickerbockers.
What you've got is a crossover with the new romantic clothes with the soul clothes, which is very much sort of the old Blitzy style clothing.
Just seen one go up there. Absolutely awful.
Well, I just think it looks rubbish.
I mean, why do you dress up like this? Isn't it all just a great sexual romp?
It's just an attitude that's always been with young kids. Like Gary said, it's inherent in the working class. The middle classes, if anything, they're the ones who want to play it down and want to wear scruffy jeans and want to go out kicking tin cans. That's their idea, but it's not the working class idea.
So you're saying it's a natural movement that has been just waiting to come out?
It's been there. It's been there for years.
You can trace it back through, say, soul clubs in the 70s and back into the muds in the 60s.
Beau Brummel started it all. And what people don't realise about dandyism is that it's essentially a conspiracy against aristocracy. It says all gentlemen are equal.
You just got to have the feeling in there of style.
How do you feel when you're being copied?
I don't really mind because the time people are copying me, I think I've changed anyway.
Everybody can't be stylish, and if they all try, they'll make themselves unhappy. Some people have it, and some people don't.
Do you think you're going to wear it? If it's a very cold day, I probably shall, yes.
And what next?
Oh, brilliant reviewing sounds.
Is it?
Oh,
Brilliant.
5 stars, Betty Page.
Is it?
Yeah.
Ah, nice one. Where is it? You got it?
Nah.
Richard done it as well. They've done 2 separate interviews. Richard Burge is on the same show as us, and they interviewed him first.
When did it Saturday?
Yeah, it's 3 o'clock.
No, 5 o'clock, and it goes to New Zealand,
Brilliant.
it goes to America, it goes practically all over the world. Abu Dhabi, it's a really weird.
How much are you just rebelling and being negative?
We're positive, if anything, because we're producing things. And we're producing music, there's people producing graphic art, there's people producing clothes.
What do you think of this outfit?
That's great. It's good. The new look. Cossack look. That's what muscle band is going to be, eh?
Put the jacket on, I'll hold that.
Right, all right.
I've read in the papers that this whole thing about you spending about 6 hours to get ready.
If you read the instructions carefully, you can put your trousers on in about 4.
One of the criticisms labelled against you is that you're all dressing up in these loony clothes and just going out and escaping.
When you go out to see a film, you're obviously escaping from life. And I wish people were more aware of what was going on because, the country is pretty rough and everyone knows that.
It was a good job that things were working out for us because that spring of 1981, a year into Thatcher's government, unemployment was at a 44-year high.
There are a group of upwardly mobile people at the moment in London who want to be successful because the alternatives aren't too good.
If I could press a button and genuinely solve the unemployment problem, do you think that I would not press that button this instant?
If you want to be political, then don't form a band. I mean, join the Labour Party. That's all you can do.
Musclebound really kicked off the video wars. We shot it on location in the Lake District and wound up getting snowed in. Just the 5 of us, 4 dwarves, and a load of cans of 35mm film, which is how Musclebound became an accidental epic. This was the dawn of the video age, and we were the TV generation. I was obsessed with this new medium. Pop was no longer just about making a record. It was about communicating your philosophy, whatever that was.
You have got Rick and Martin Kemp. Thank you.
I'll get someone to take it.
Thank you very much.
A tasty end, as one would expect from
Great.
Spandau Ballet. Journeys to Glory is the LP. And obviously pleased about the result of the album.
Oh, yeah, great.
Just arrived on the turntables. I think this is one of the first pressings I've seen. So we'll take one track. Which one? Mandolin?
Yeah.
Yeah, favourites? OK, here we go. What is happening to you at this particular moment? Gary, a quick synopsis of what's going on.
Well, just come back from Germany, doing some promotion over there, and we're going to be doing a show in Paris soon.
No one could buy a ticket to a Spandau gig at that point. It was all invite only to one-off special events. Except now, it was international.
Y obtiene des tubes comme Spandau Ballet.
Y el nuevo romanticismo musical.
You know, those early days were never just about playing the show. It was always about the glamour. Paris, Rome, Milan, Ibiza, and of course, New York.
We arrived in New York with an entourage of blitz kids and turned heads on every street.
Come on, mate. Yeah, this is like play school, yeah. I've got a machine now. There's a camera over there.
Sit
Camera's there. They're talking about.
Sit there, mate.
Okay.
The camera's there, mate.
Okay.
Steve, I've got this.
The woman who interviewed us, she was like this classic 1970s disco babe. I mean, we were like a bunch of aliens that had landed on her planet.
Spandau Ballet.
You're the first band to incorporate fashion, music, graphic arts, and video into a whole concept. How did this come about?
There's a club scene in London at the moment to attract a lot of creative people, and we decided that when we came to New York, we wasn't just going to come over like all the other bands, but we'd bring all of those creative people over from London and show New York what it was all about.
We brought a fashion show with us, you know, what group's done that before?
You've got to start that. It's right in hell. Fucking hell. I'll tell you, I've been about a smack machine over there. Yeah, so you just got to put it out because I can't handle it. Tony Headley, vocals and pyrotechnics.
Can we talk about your clothes now? Who has designed this outfit? Is that a Bedouin outfit?
No, not really. It's just come up with an idea, get a friend to do it for you, and there you are, Bob's your uncle. Show me what it looks like. Go into the camera, mate, into the camera. Give them your full frontal pose.
New York received us like messengers from the future. But back in London, it was getting harder to stand out from the crowd. By 1981, electronica was everywhere. Everyone was playing it. So what was going to make us different? I'd met Beggar & Co. on Top of the Pops. I loved their horn section, and I thought it would be great to get them on one of our records. The new club to go to in Soho was the Beat Room. Steve Lewis started playing funk and soul.
There's clubs emerging every day. Right. I mean, it's room enough in London for 2 clubs per night, and it's getting that way now.
It inspired me to make the next record a return to our soul boy roots. So the obvious place to shoot the video for chart number 1 was at the Beat Room itself.
I don't need this pressure on. I don't need this pressure on. I don't need this pressure on.
I see everyone like little Neros fiddling while Rome burns, because you don't know where your check's coming from tomorrow.
I don't need this pressure on.
Somehow chant number 1 had become the perfect theme tune for the summer of '81. Summer of riots, a heat wave, and a royal wedding.
And suddenly Brixton, a South London area of high unemployment, was under siege.
There's tension in the street, right, all around you, in politics, etc. Which tension, friction creates sparks. Sparks are bright and new ideas.
And we were searching at that point for our future outside of Soho. We were a bunch of kids who loved singles, who loved commercial records.
For the first time on Top of the Pops, it's Culture Club.
This week, number 1 is Soft Cell and Tainted Love.
Suddenly there just didn't seem enough room for everybody. Boy George was competing with Princess Diana as the country's favourite pin-up.
Human League. And our biggest rivals of all, Duran Duran. They were having hits, and we weren't.
Steve Dagger and the rest of us talked about what direction the band should go in. For me, it was easy. I didn't want to be a cult hero. I wanted to be a pop star. I remember the Falklands breaking out and thinking, I hope this doesn't interfere with our single release.
We'd done Top of the Pops, we were jet-setting around Europe, but there's still not that much money floating about. We were all still living at home with our parents.
Working class lads didn't leave until they got married in those days.
And Gary Kemp writes yet another song for the third Spandau Ballet LP.
She took so much out of it.
I can't remember what the first track was that I wrote for the True album, but I remember writing the lyric, I bought a ticket to the world, consciously hoping that it would be true.
He thought he knew what to do.
Our dreams of record deals and hit singles had come true, but a dream come true is just reality. Then you've got to get a new dream.
We really felt like it was time to leave home and make a move up to the next level.
We decided to go to the Bahamas.
And why not?
Compass Point was the studio that was so steeped in blue-eyed soul. Robert Palmer had recorded there, Daryl Hall and John Oates had recorded there. So it had a real dance feel to it, a very sexy, exotic dance feel. And we wanted to soak up some of that atmosphere.
Mr. Tony Hadley, another word, quick word, please, Mr. Tony Hadley. What did you think of that last ordeal?
It was too much for me.
It was too much for you. I could see the sweat dripping off your nose.
The sweat's coming down. Look at me. See the sweat?
Look at him. Look at his nose.
Gary!
Swain and Jolly were an English songwriting production team. Tony Swain came from a sort of soul boy background. Our songs suited his abilities perfectly.
The songs, the environment, the friendship, the ganja, it all helped us to slow down a little bit. I hadn't been playing sax for long, but the new bunch of songs that Gary had written felt really natural for me to play on.
Recording True, within 2 or 3 playbacks, everyone was singing along. And I knew then that we'd found a song that could change our lives forever.
single. I thought it was a lovely song, you know.
Thatcher back at number 10.
A larger victory, as it looks now, than I had ever dared to hope.
Okay, well, we're just off to Milan now. Go out to Manchester.
The time around True and the years after when we were touring the songs were probably the happiest for all of us.
All right. Place to film here. Hello. Here we are on the way to Sweden.
Gary Kemp, Tony Hadley, welcome
Hello.
to...
Hello.
Hi. Welcome to Norway. You call yourself a pop band. Is that deliberate?
Pop art is what we're dealing with now. Success is an art in itself.
Bagley, Health and Beauty, 1983.
Leonie and I had been going out for a long time, and the band was getting more and more popular. I just found the separations too much. We decided we were going to get married. And I said, guys, I've got some really good news. I'm getting married. And it was like, ding, walking into a cowboy bar, you know, and the piano stops.
When your old wedding ring was new.
It was deemed that the publicity from me getting married would not do the band any good. And I had a massive, massive row. I was like, if you want to come to the wedding, you can come. If you don't, I don't care.
As the day I changed your name.
Anyway, they all came to the wedding and had a jolly good time.
What do you think is the most important part of a pop tune?
Melody, I think. Melody is back in fashion. I think love's back in fashion.
So what's your next step?
I think the time's right for Spandau Ballet to go and do it. I mean, we opened a lot of doors at the beginning for a lot of other bands. And I think this year with True, the album, I think it's time to step over everybody and take what's ours.
Lifeline to haul them up the charts. They rocketed straight in last week at number 10. It's going to be around for a while, and that's no lie. In fact, it's true.
So true, funny how it seems, always in time, but never in line for dreams.
And number 1 on the 1000th edition of Top of the Pops,
it's Spandau Ballet at True. This is the sound of my soul. This is the sound.
Number 1 for 4 weeks. Number 1 in 21 countries around the world.
Glad to see you again, Tony.
Everything's going very well at the moment.
It was everything I'd ever hoped for.
But I find it hard to write the next line. Oh, I want the tune to be said.
I think they're brilliant. They're just excellent. There's nothing else to say. They're just great.
I think they look nice. You know, their ties and the jackets and things. They're creating a new fashion.
And it just reminds me of when your parents go out and you've got a girl there and you put Marvin Gaye on to listen to records, you know. Sweet them up. Your parents go to bed.
From that point on, everybody wanted a piece of us. It doesn't get any more mainstream than being number 1.
It felt pretty damn perfect. We had a number 1 album and single, tour had sold out, screaming girls everywhere. For a 23-year-old, it doesn't get much better than that.
True going to #1, that completely changed our lives. It wasn't a Cortina anymore, it was a Mercedes or a Jaguar. We really were the darlings of 1983.
We spend most of our time miming to small children.
You'll notice that Stephen Martin never long last got out of bed.
Yeah, I remember we used to draw straws for the Saturday morning shows, which was usually quite traumatic.
Can I speak to Martin, please?
Of course you can.
Hello? Have you got any favourite possessions?
Favourite positions?
What?
Possessions.
Listen, what's the opposite of hot? Cold.
And Gold happens to be the next hit single from Spandau Ballet!
Gold, it's the fourth single from the album, isn't it? And looks like it's doing better than all the others.
Yeah, it's done advanced sales of up to 140,000.
How does that compare with True?
It's done about 60,000 more.
It's Richard Blade here at the world-famous Globe Rock, and if you want to meet up with the guys from Spandau Ballet, they're going to be at Tower Records on Sunset at 3:30. It's going to be wild.
The whole screaming Spandau mania really did take us by surprise. This fear written all over our faces.
There was a side of me that felt a little guilty that we were a pop band being screamed at. A side of me that wanted to be taken more seriously, maybe as seriously as I took myself.
So you have an extensive touring schedule. As I said, you've been playing throughout the States. You sold out dates here in Los Angeles, in San Francisco, New York. Do you have plans for going to Japan in the near future?
At the moment, they haven't bought an awful lot of our records, and we don't particularly...
No, I don't want to say that.
No.
Do you not want to say that?
You say
No, start again.
Yeah, that's right. That's cool.
True. Well, you don't say it on the air, do you?
Because by the time it airs...
getting in the... Yeah,
We're not very good, actually.
You're watching MTV Music Television all
MTV was a revolution, a pop pipeline around the world.
Well, welcome, Tony and Gary. Thanks for coming by.
Suddenly, kids from Neasden to New York were seeing the same bands at the same time.
You said that you weren't going to be coming to the United States until you had a hit. So it looks like the formula's worked.
With MTV, we was able to send our video across. We could hold back a little while before we came over live.
The next song, is it going to be Communication?
Well, communication. After Gold.
Is there going to be a video for that? I should ask.
We've actually done it, yeah.
There's one already, yeah.
That was probably the most interesting video shoot I ever did, because I wasn't in it.
I particularly didn't want to put the band in it. Tony was the man who was in it.
Well, you know I'm expensive.
He likes acting. I prefer the other side of the camera, but he likes acting.
I want $1,000 up front, 25%. Give it 3 or 4 years, and that's what I'll try and get into.
You're hired.
Gary, you've been referred to as the driving force behind Spandau Ballet. You write most of the songs. What is the input from the others in the group?
Quite a lot.
Songwriting, I do the songwriting.
John, tell me now, where are the other 2 members of the group? I know there's 5.
Working somewhere, I would think. I think Gary's still got a lot of writing to do, so he's at home, pen in hand, I would think, guitar in other hand. We're doing the album now. We finished recording that sometime in the spring. That'll be released simultaneously worldwide, and then we'll start the world tour.
We had played a lot on the True Tour. We changed to now a fully functioning rock band.
You were quoted recently as saying that there's just Wham, Culture Club, Duran Duran and yourselves in pop music. Is that really what you said?
Well, next week it seems like that, doesn't it? I mean, like, we're back in the charts again.
And we're about to introduce to you some very good friends of ours. This is Spandau Ballet.
This is the song of Mary Jo. She's not the girl I used to know. Forever screaming.
Sunday must be Genoa.
I love touring because it's incredibly pure. I have nothing else to bother about, to worry about all day, except that 2 hours on stage.
Before you go to bed, give me an idea of how long you want before you leave for the sound check.
Rock and roll!
We've got probably a gig a day up until Christmas. Tonight's the 5th out of 6 Wembleys.
I was in my rock star element, living on champagne, cocaine and adrenaline. I'm not gonna lie, I fucking loved it.
You've got people like that follow you around, waiting for you to fall over in a club, you know, and you pay them to catch you.
What time did you go to bed?
I've had about 2 hours sleep, I think.
You went to bed at 10
It's good
o'clock this
going, so
morning?
it's OK. I can't complain at that, can I? I don't go round my mum's house now unless there's a full rider. 2 bottles of vodka and cheese sandwiches everywhere.
In the midst of all the madness and touring, we'd had a call from Bob Geldof about some sort of charity record for Africa.
The Ethiopian famine appeal will be boosted by sales of a special pop record. Over 25 stars sang for nothing at today's recording session in London, and all the proceeds will go to famine relief.
Paul Weller walked to the studio. The Bananas turned up in their mate's car, but we turned up in the standard issue Bentley, still playing at being rock stars.
How did you come to be in the first place?
In a group. Yeah, I'm in a group, so they invited us all along.
We was in Japan, and then we flew via New York, and we landed in Germany, and it was like 2 days of no sleep at all. We got up on stage and did a gig.
We didn't even know what we were doing there. We'd been up drinking with Duran Duran the night before, and I could barely string a sentence together.
I think it's great. I think it's the only record at Christmas. I mean, every band's got a record out at Christmas, I dare say, but I think if anyone had it, I think it's fair if this was #1 and everything else was #2 and 3 and 4.
Phil Collins is here.
Oh, great. Great.
It's kind of weird being in the studio with all your chart rivals. Everyone was a little bit shy. Nobody wanted to be the first one to volunteer and do their first vocal. And all of a sudden it was like, go on then, Tone, you can go first. What? Should have got a bit more sleep last night.
It's a world of dread and fear, where the only water flowing is.
Yeah, there you go. I was down there first. Pretty nerve-wracking, but it come off.
Yep, it's getting better.
There was a real sense that we were more powerful than the government.
We had a bit of a problem with the VAT on the records.
I know, but you know, don't forget, we've used some of your VAT to give back and to plough back. We've given again and again. I mean, a government has to get taxation from somewhere.
Difficult to tell who was lecturing who.
Pop music has always been about rivalry. You were either a Spandau Ballet fan or a Durrani.
Well, here at TV Centre, we've been inundated all day here at Shepherd's Bush because you've got 2 great bands playing against one another. They are Spandau and Duran Duran. Right, onto the lyric round next. John and Martin together, here's yours, right? Stalked in the forest, too close to hide, I'll be upon you by the moonlight side. Do you recognise who that's by? I'm going to have to tell you, it's this one. Right, finally in this round, Annie and Roger, for you, surprisingly, a Spandau lyric. She used to be a diplomat, but now she's down the laundry.
She's highly strung.
Highly strung, yes. Spandau Ballet 40, Duran Duran 52.
Pop quiz, it's a piece of fun TV. But we were truly gutted that we lost.
What's it been like doing this huge tour?
Huge tour.
Well, it is huge, isn't it? Because you've had massive amounts of people come to see you. Now, what are you going to be doing next?
Big European tour starts Sunday in Nuremberg. So we're looking forward to that. That's going to take
6
in
weeks.
every country in Europe, I think.
And then we go to Australia. We're down there for about 6 weeks. Never been. We're looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Should be quite warm down there.
On the boat, around Sydney Harbour Bridge. I mean, that's just like, wow. You really felt, wow, this is it. I'm there, a rock star, you know.
On, I'll be back at a print any day.
1, 2, 3, 4.
I heard some news about the date you'll be doing in California.
Sold out in an hour.
Well, we'll look forward to seeing you on stage in Los Angeles. Spandau Ballet, a dream come true for you guys, right?
Love's so fine. It's still the sign of the day I change your name. When you're on wedding ring, what
I understand you're playing Los Angeles.
We did Orange County last night. We're doing 2 at the Universal tonight and tomorrow.
Several of you guys have resemblance besides the two brothers. Are any of the others of you related?
No. Would you be related to each other? I wouldn't be related to him.
I
Long
wouldn't,
years of living with each other.
Related to him.
Well, these guys talk funny, huh?
Want to see everybody's hands in the air? Hey! Oh, yeah!
I used to run around a lot on stage. One of my moves was to play a saxophone solo, run across the stage, and then drop to my knees. That second night on stage in Los Angeles, I dropped to my knees and I heard it.
This is the videotape of the arthroscopy performed on Steve's right knee. This reflects some of the damage done when the knee went into the hyperflexed, externally rotated position, and it requires immobilization in order for it to heal. Wish you all the luck in the world. I think things will work out just beautifully.
Obviously, at that time, keyhole surgery was still a bit of a new technology, and it was decided that we would end the tour there.
So all these lot went back home. I'm stuck there waiting for this operation, all on my own in Los Angeles.
Which one of you has the gammy leg? He's keeping his promise, is he?
It's all right now. I won't be doing any more leaps on stage tomorrow anyway.
Yes,
but,
so you kept the band out of work, did you, with that
yeah,
ridiculous leap on the stage?
guilty about that. Yeah, we've
all been on the dole. Lost a fortune. It's going to feel a little bit apprehensive out there with 1.5 billion people, or even more now that China's looking at...
About 2 billion. It's 50% of the world's population.
Live Aid. I mean, there was no bigger gig, and there will never be as big a gig as Live Aid.
Hey, we've got to have a helicopter. Hey, you love helicopters. And that makes you feel like a real pop star.
See you later.
Hi there.
I've got fond memories of standing during Status Quo sound check. And I was filming, and then I've panned around, and there's Martin in typical quad pose.
Wow, this is brilliant.
See if I can see some stars. There's some stars here today.
The atmosphere backstage was absolutely fantastic. There was no hey, I'm a bigger pop star than you kind of thing, or I'm cooler than you. Everyone really thought this is part of history, and we're trying to make a difference.
Mark, you're making a right prat of yourself here.
Ladies and gentlemen, will you welcome on stage here at Wembley, Spandau Ballet.
Each band at Live Aid only had 15 minutes on stage. That just flew past in an instant.
So it's 18 months since you last released a single, and now here you are tucked away in this remote part of the south of France. What have you been doing in between?
Making an album, really. That's been about it.
Okay. Getting from the D back to this poxy chord.
We've still got to get that bit, though.
You had it before. It was good, though. His fingers are not getting too sore, are they?
Gary and I shared a flat at one point, and I remember him waking me up early one afternoon and playing me this song. It was to be Come Through the Barricades, and quite frankly, it's the best thing we ever did.
Well done, my son.
Well done.
Is that running?
Yeah.
You recorded all those disasters, did you?
Yeah.
How am I going to tell people I did it in one?
Mother doesn't know where love has gone. She says it must be youth that keeps us feeling strong.
I got to know Thomas, or Kidzo, when he worked for us on the True Tour.
Thomas Riley was 23. A road manager with several London pop groups, he was shot in Belfast's Republican White Rock area. Private Thane had claimed that his victim, Thomas Riley, was armed. Following a street argument, he'd shot him in the back.
Now I know what they're saying.
When we were back in Belfast with the parade tour, Kidzo's brother took me past the barricades on the Falls Road to the cemetery to visit his grave. That experience never left me.
It's a love story where the individuals come from either different races or different religions.
Born on different sides of life.
It doesn't just have to be about Belfast. In '89, we went to Berlin. During our trip to Berlin, the wall came down. And that night, we played Through the Barricades. It was immense. It meant something very personal to this city.
Barricades is the band absolutely at their best. We were at the top of our game. We were happy, everything was going well. We were very, very good friends.
What do you think of this over?
What they're saying, our hearts go to their graves. We made our love on wasteland.
There's a sort of real spirit amongst us. Like it's like this whole thing's been one busman's holiday, you know, and the Beano's still rolling.
Brilliant. It's absolutely fantastic. That was a happy album. It was the one after that that wasn't very much. been actually touring in Europe now since November 1986. It's been very, very successful, the most successful tour we've done yet.
When you're on tour, I think you create your own little world, which is pretty incestuous, tends to alienate people from the outside. But it's the only way of stopping you from being disorientated.
Where's my bag? You're fucking mad, I bet it's like crazy.
It does wear you down. Sometimes it gets to the point where you just need a bit of home comfort. People start to look really rough with bags under their eyes and cold sores and stuff like that. Never had those days.
I was shaking like a leaf.
It just felt like a series of album tour, album tour, album tour. You know, I think you get angry with people if you spend so much time with them.
Do you have thoughts on the Soviet Union? Have your feelings changed, say, over the last 6 months? Because certainly the country is sort of modifying their stance towards the Western countries now. Why do you think that is?
Come on, lads, chip it in here.
I keep on looking down in that direction.
Well, I've got the cold shoulder, really.
Yeah. But we've a bit left out.
Basically, what's happened?
Batted in again.
Being on stage is a bit like being a junkie. You really crave the hit, and you're extremely high when you come off stage. But the hangover is painful, and the more hangovers we suffered, the more I didn't want to do it anymore.
Morning, Gary.
Oh. Good morning. Good morning.
How are you?
A little bit delicate.
Why delicate?
Fragile. Mixture of Italian beer and vodka, I think.
Why is it so important to have a drink with friends?
I don't know, it was the drummer's idea.
Hi, big boy. And how do you feel with all the people around looking for you?
Do you feel like a animal in a zoo or something? Yeah, a little bit like that.
What happened last night?
We invaded the video cafe over the road. I just went absolutely crazy, stupid. And we partied till about 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning.
Tony, I'm trying to talk about creative things here.
Oh, creative things, yeah, we're going to do another album.
This is the end of the tour. Now they need from you creativity too, another creativity thing.
Yeah. Oh, mega, see, underpants. I've never been able to write with another musician or a lyricist because for me a song is one complete idea.
I think it would have been much more exciting to have 2 or 3 songwriters within the group. I was quite happy to hold the songwriting reins out of fear of someone else doing better than me. That's the control freak's dilemma.
You're obviously very musical because you can learn to play these instruments with such facility or whatever. How come you don't write? How come you don't write songs?
I don't know, maybe I'll try one day. Maybe someone.
But you don't try, you don't secretly write songs at home.
Maybe do you, Steve? I don't know.
It was just after Through the Barricades tour had finished. Gary started talking to me in a way that he had never spoken to me before. It was really serious. And he started saying to me that it was time for the band to finish. It frightened me more than anything else because I thought straight away, you think, well, what? You know, where am I going to go? What am I going to do if I haven't got the band to lean back on? But I kind of talked Gary round to say, let's go on for another year. And then out of the blue, Gary and I were approached by 2 producers to play the lead roles in a movie about the Cray twins.
We were always wanting to move back into making films.
Now, I jumped at it. I knew the band was collapsing around me, but more than anything else, I knew it was a springboard into the next part of my life.
It's almost as if we're not even going to have to act. You know what I mean? It's almost as if we're just going to go in and play ourselves.
What are you going to do now that it's all over?
I like to have a bit of family life now, you know. I intend to get married in the near future.
Ronald, what are you going to do now?
Well, I'd like to go abroad for a short while and then I'd like to be left alone.
everyone was happy that the craze had come along for Gary Martin. Good luck to him. I think it was just a timing issue, really. The fact that we were in the middle of making a record.
Hello, I'm Tony.
And I'm Gary, and we're from Spandau Ballet.
And... Okay.
Hello, I'm Tony.
Get it right.
Yeah,
Well, why don't I say, hi, I'm Tony, you say, hi.
It's so boring, isn't
okay,
it?
well,
I'm
I'm
just...
just...
a different way.
just...
Things weren't going wonderfully well anyway. Things weren't gelling.
We've just taken our time making this album. We made it in London, and we were working sort of sensible hours, you know. We were all going home early and then enjoying just going out. And I think that's really important, because it's important to go out and get influences from town, you know.
People's lives were getting in the way of the band. People having to leave early because they were having a sofa delivered. Previous to that, nothing got in the way of the band. It was a juggernaut. Everything came second. Times were changing.
Gary, you're taking part in a film project about the life story of the Cray twins. When did you begin work on that?
October.
So is that going to interrupt tour?
Well, the album's not coming out till next year anyway, so we finished the album at the end of September, and then I'll start the film, and that will take me to the end of the year. And the film won't be, and then the album will be coming out next year, so I'll probably take a holiday after that.
Tony, do you have any plans at all?
No. After all that. Me, I don't know what I'm going to do, actually.
You've got to remember when you're 16 and you're working towards being successful, you're 19, you sign the contract, you've got one thing on your mind. So you've got to want it so bad, it's unbelievable. If you haven't got that in you, then forget it and give up.
This album's taken a long time. It's taken a year. The whole of '88 and even into '89.
It wasn't because it was a struggle then to get this album done?
No, not at all. In fact, it was the most enjoyable album we've ever done. I mean, all the songs were written before we went into the studio, more or less.
Gary was demoing the songs, and before that, we'd always worked as a band, but it was very much, well, here's the song, lads. Oh, OK. It was a very unpleasant album to make.
What were you writing about this time?
The songs come from me. I try to make songwriting as natural as possible, so it has to be something that comes from the heart, and that's why I chose to call the album Heart Like a Sky. One of the reasons.
I always hated that name. It's a stupid name for a record. People's heart wasn't in it. I mean, it was a very misnamed album.
John Keeble always said that there's three things that break bands up: money, drugs, or women. I think there's a fourth one. It's called ego.
What's the key, then, to staying together where others have fallen by the way?
Jesus. There's a big spirit in there in Spandau, particularly at the moment, so we've been on tour.
Booze.
Yeah, it's big spirit booze.
I mean, I know some members of the band have had extracurricular interests, if you like, in terms of acting and things like that.
It sounds like Whitman. I was like, Danny, I son.
I mean, is
Jealousy
that
or anything like that?
And what do the rest of the members of the band think of you two acting? What do they do while you're acting? I mean, can they do anything music-wise?
You'll have to ask them.
You'll have to ask them, won't you? I don't know.
Go round their house. I'm not sure.
There's footage out there with John on drums, Tony on vocals, me on percussion, and two stand-ins on bass and guitar. And my heart sinks every time I see it. The final nail in the coffin for me was during a photo session for a single called Raw. Gary started to pick on Tony. So I took Gary to the side and said, Gary, look, you don't need to humiliate him. He was fuming that I had the audacity to tell him this. And after about 10 seconds, he came up to me and he said, if you don't like it, you know what you can do. You can see on our faces, Spandau Ballet has just come to an end. The tour that followed was really just going through the motions. I hardly moved, shut off in my own little world. I looked down at Martin and Gary, straight off the film set, and I'm looking at the Cray twins.
I and God bless.
We stepped off stage in March 1990, and if any of us thought that would be our last show. 2 weeks later, my daughter was born, and I was quite happy to sit at home and be a parent and love her, so I had something to do.
There was no closure. I realised I was on my own. You know, I didn't even know how to write an invoice out at that point.
Stand by.
It's difficult when all you know are your close mates from school, and you grow from being kids together into adults.
I'm Steve from Spandau Ballet, and this is to cut a long story short.
I was having a nervous breakdown at the time. I actually moved out to Ibiza and lived there for over 12 years. I think it saved my life.
Life's life. What we don't get now ain't getting later. You all right? Bloody door's falling off. Oh, no! What group are you then?
Spandau Ballet.
Spandau Ballet?
Yeah.
Well, you don't record, do you?
No.
Do you?
We've made several recordings.
Have you?
Yep.
Well done.
I had to worry for the first time in a long while. How long is it when you don't pick up drumsticks to when you just don't do it anymore? And that scared the shit out of me.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're leaving Downing Street for the last time after 11.5 wonderful years.
So why the need for a solo album? Does that mean the end of the band?
No, I put everybody's mind at rest, and no, this is not the end of Spandau. We were talking about doing the next Spandau album in '93, but until that time, you've got me.
What I hoped in my heart of hearts was that everybody gets away from each other for a couple of years, 2 or 3 years, and then sort of remember what it was all about at the beginning. It was 5 guys, Spandau Ballet.
When can we expect to see the return of Spandau?
Not for a few years. I have to do this. I have to prove something to myself. When I feel quite fulfilled and happy about it, then we'll get the guys together and we'll do a mammoth tour. We'll make a mammoth album and we'll live happily ever after.
Turning and sit.
I'm Martin Kemp from Spandau Ballet. This is our new single, The Freeze.
The craze was a success, and doors opened for Gary and I. We both found ourselves spending more and more time in Los Angeles. I got stuck in doing this whole ream of B movies, but it was good fun, and it paid really good money.
Give it another 5 years, you can get your old band back together, do a reunion tour.
I was in Canada in 1995 filming a TV show called The Outer Limits when I was diagnosed with a brain tumour. I had 2 brain tumours, one that was operated on back in Queen Square in London. This machine that took out the second brain tumour that was in the centre of my brain. It saved my life. It took me about 3.5 years to get back on my feet. Every time I saw a picture of myself in the paper, it had a caption underneath that said, Martin Kemp, brain tumour. Then EastEnders came to me and offered me a part in the show. Everyone said, why would you want to do a show like that? I wanted to get rid of that caption. I wanted it to say, Martin Kemp, actor. Gary was still making films in Hollywood.
I was married to Sadie Frost at the time. She gets a part in a Francis Ford Coppola movie, and I get a part in a Kevin Costner movie. I suppose in the end I had to come home. My marriage broke down, because LA does that. And I never felt really settled as an actor.
But as an actor, you're sort of forever waiting for someone else to give you a job. And it just doesn't, you know, you don't express yourself as in the way that I like to through writing songs.
People to this day, you know, is the band still together? Do you think you're just having a bit of time out? What, 7 years? No. there is no way.
Do you still see any of them?
I see John keyboard drums with me. So I see John. Steve Norman's, you know, I see Steve and I see Martin. I don't see Gary. So, way it goes, isn't it? Shame, really, but there you go.
I think it's a shame. I think that we But after spending so much time together, you find it hard to even pick up the phone to each other.
The 1980s pop group Spandau Ballet had a reunion of sorts today at the High Court. Lead singer Tony Hadley, here on the right, along with John Keeble and Steve Norman, are fighting songwriter Gary Kemp over royalties from the band's earnings.
Gary Kemp today got his chance to defend himself against his former friends and band members. They say he promised them a share of royalties, but he was determined to take the stand and tell what he says is a different story.
The truth.
I was terrified before going into court. No one ever really wanted to go to court. As much as I didn't want to be there, I had to defend myself and defend our claim.
This has not been brought just on a, like, let's have a punt, lads. It's not about that.
I think it would have been better if we would have had a tear up in the dressing room and we'd have known where we stood.
23 days in the High Court, it's a long time. None of it was particularly pleasant for anybody.
Can we talk about the argument that the band are having now, Spandau Ballet?
Yeah, kind of.
They're in court. The guys are in court. It's such a shame.
Martin stayed out of the court case. He was my brother, but he was also a dear friend of theirs, and he was so torn.
The judge's verdict on 3 members of Spandau Ballet who lost their court battle to win hundreds of thousands of pounds in earnings from publishing rights. Lawyers said they were devastated.
We shall be carefully reviewing the judgment and have already given notice of our intention to appeal.
I recall walking out of court to face the press, having just been told we've lost all, as well that there's a huge bill to pay and no way of paying it.
Gary Kemp will continue to rake in royalties every time one of his songs is played on radio or television. 3 of the 5 who were Spandau Ballet must walk away into cabaret circuit work and find money to lodge an appeal.
In a strange way, I gained confidence through the court case. For the first time, I had to examine what I'd contributed to the band, and I saw that it was something of worth.
It's only pop music, but it takes you to some very strange places. I would prefer not to have been here.
I never won that court case. I lost my band. I lost all the good memories at that point. There was nothing to be proud of, it felt like.
People remember the same events differently. No one's right or wrong. And the only thing to do is to create a grey area and put all the stuff in there. And don't visit it.
You put your faith in the justice system and you hope that it's going to come out, but OK, you lose, you take it on the chin, you pay your bill and that's it. It's I have to say, the other side have not exactly been easy in terms of letting us pay the bill.
Well, you just called me Spandau Ballet's Gary Kemp, and we haven't made a record since 1990. In 2004, I remixed the Barricades film of us playing live at the NEC. It was the first time I'd watched the band play live since the 80s. I'd forgotten how much fun we had. And at that moment, I really wanted to do it again. I just thought, if anything was going to heal whatever Spandau Ballet is, it was definitely bigger than our resentment towards each other.
From my point of view, there would have to be too many bridges to be rebuilt for us to get back together again.
There is quite a big sense of loyalty between us all, because we don't want to lose each other, because we want to grow together, and then we can keep our ideals, you know.
I mean, it always smells of cynicism when a band gets back together years later. It smells of trying to make money. I think what it really is, as well, is trying to recapture something that was naive and true and quite wonderful that you had together. I'd like to find that innocence again and get back in a room and make some music, but we have to get over some personal differences first.
I spent a lot of time with Tone. I play with him all the time. We discussed Spandau a million times. One point after a show, we were sitting there, sweating in our pants, and Spandau Ballet came up. There was a glint in Tone's eye, and I said, "You'd do it, wouldn't you?" He said, yeah, but there's this, that problem, that problem, that. I said, yeah, OK, I'm aware of the problems. At that point, I thought, let's give it a go. I couldn't change the past, but maybe I could change the future.
Who actually got the ball rolling is a little bit blurred. We all played a small part. Gary and I both flew over to see Steve Norman in Ibiza at different times.
I looked at him and I said, "Bloody hell, Mark, you still look like Elvis," and gave him a big hug.
Steve was my earliest friend in the band. In many ways, it was our group, and if there was anyone I needed to win over first, it was him.
And then we kind of got to know each other all over again. But there was a bigger problem, and that comes in the shape and form of Tony Hadley.
I think shuttle diplomacy is what it's called. Talking to Tone, talking to Gary. A couple of meetings in with Gary, he said to me, "Why do you want to do this?" I said, "I want a better end. I don't want the end of Spandau Ballet to be in Court 59 in ugliness."
I'm not just going to sit here and tell you that it was easy. It wasn't. For some of us, there were giant hurdles to climb.
John Keeble kept coming back to me, and after much deliberation, I thought, well, OK, maybe we can.
Oh yeah, it's great to Billy's, isn't it? Walking into Billy's.
Walking in that room and actually seeing the equipment and seeing your guitars was a shock.
There was a certain magic in the room. It's a chemistry, it's a certain chemistry that only us five have got.
The music was bigger than anything. It was bigger than everybody's argument, and it superseded everything.
Hurrah, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very, very much for coming along today. We've had a fantastic morning so far. Really enjoyed it. As you can see, we're back together again, and we're very happy boys, and thank you very much for coming.
Is it true that your first TV performance will be on Friday night with Jonathan Ross?
I think I'll say yes.
Just get comfy. It's great to see you back together. It really is. I'm genuinely very, very excited.
This is my other family, really, and I've missed them for the last 20 years.
I've got to say, I mean, Johnny Keeble has been absolutely fantastic. And he's been brilliant, and it's taken some time.
Has anything changed over the position of royalty?
Ooh, contentious.
Oh, that's a concession. Yeah, Gary's given them all to me.
Yeah. A private matter, I think.
I'm going to do a Spandau quiz to see how much you can remember about years.
Not a lot.
If you give a correct answer, I'm going to press this button. If you get it wrong, okay, you all deserve an equal share of the royalties. I don't know how that got on there.
Are you worried about the rigours of touring and have you got any?
No, I mean, all we want to do now, to be honest, I mean, you know, it's lovely you lot all being here and we appreciate it, but I just want to go and play a gig.
Tickets for Spandau Ballet's London show have sold out in less than 20 minutes. They announced a string of UK and world gigs earlier this week. Another night's now been added at the O2 Arena. Spandau guitarist Gary Kemp's calling the response to the comeback tour phenomenal.
Thank you so much, thank you. Now, if there's one song we're going to do, it ain't a Duran Duran song, I can tell you that. So I'll dispense with the nonsense of an encore and just go, hurrah! Job done, thank you very much. You know what it is, Mr. Touch. Thank you for coming home. Sorry that the chairs are all warm. I left them here, I could have sworn. These are my salad days, slowly being eaten away. Just another plan for today. Oh, but I'm proud of you, but I'm proud of you. Nothing left to make me feel small. Love it. Long as I'm me standing so tall. You ready? Go! Always believe in your soul. You got the power to know you're indestructible. Always believe it. You are gold. Like that you've been to return. Something I can learn. You're indestructible. Always believe it. Oh. After the rush has gone, hope you find a little more time. Remember we were partners in crime. It's only 2 years ago. Man with the suit and the face. You knew that he was there on the case. Now he's in love with you. He's in love with you. Love is like a hard prison wall. You leave me standing so always believe in your soul. You got the power to know you're indestructible like a flag. Always believe in. Whoa! Yeah! Thank you very much. Thank you. Now the bar's open.
I just want the chance to turn this love around. Keep on searching for the sound. I don't want to do you wrong. I just want to take us back where we belong. We were hot and we were all so strong. Ooh, I know we'll make it if we try. Reach for the stars and we can touch the sky. Song in a different dream. Sorry that I stole the show. I can't believe I had your heart and let it go. I always loved you, but I didn't know. Ooh, there's nothing standing in our way. We've got the love, but do we want to play? Darling, once more, won't you give me one more time? Say these words together. I need you more than ever. Try it once more. One more chance to make it right. Never say never. Let's rise up together. Take on the Let's take it round, go round again. Another chance to make amends.